Another outstanding guide on rogue leveling builds. This guide's going to cover starting out through the mid 30s, and I'm going to be showing you both melee and ranged leveling builds. Excuse me, sorry about that. A little tickle in my throat today. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of it. Melee, I'll tell you straight out, melee is going to be your fastest way to level. I mean, there's really no doubt about that. Just because they do so much more damage, single target, than range does at the lower levels. Even though I will say that I feel ranged is an easier way to level, it might not be quite as fast. And when I'm talking about speeds here, I'm talking in the range of maybe saving you, an hour or two going 1 through 50. I mean, it's not a huge difference between the ranged and the melee. Those people who prefer melee will, of course, excel at it, and those people who prefer ranged, they'll excel at that. Plus, you get into questing strategies, solo strategies versus doing group content, and all that comes into play, and I'll get into that a little bit more. But right now I want to show you the builds themselves, since I'm sure that's what you're looking for. First, we're going to start out with a pet-centric ranger marksman build. Now, for this build, it is concentrating somewhat on making your pet survivable. And I'm sorry, I got it. There we go. Alright. It is set up in making your pet survivable, so that your pet can tank more than 2 or 3 mobs at a time. So it's able to tank, 4 mobs, possibly 5 mobs at once. Even though with the changes that have happened since the last time I played, I'm not sure how good they are at doing that now. I will tell you that I do have my main up to around, I think she's at 55, 56 now. And using this build, I have not had problems with my pet tanking 3 and 4 mobs. No issues at all. But this is for lower level builds that we're talking about here. Now, if you notice, I've got Tactician. Tactician is great to take with any rogue build, putting 4 points in it specifically for Curative Engine. It's a self buff, lasts an hour, and it heals you whenever you take damage, and it scales really well. I mean, if it'll let you tank damage from a couple of mobs at once, give you time to burn them down in case they get on you. It's awesome. If you've got the Storm Legion souls available to you, take it. If you do not have the Storm Legion souls available to you, then what you want to do is take Rift Stalker. And the reason you're taking Rift Stalker and you want to put 8 points into it is for boosted recovery. And that's a self-heal that happens after you kill a mob. It self-heals you. That's your other option for you to go with. Now, for this one, I did put points into Enduring, which increases your pet's health, because this is kind of a pet-centric build on the pet being able to tank the mobs for you. And I've pretty evenly split between Ranger and Marksman. Now, beginning out, what you want to do is you want to concentrate more on the Ranger tree than the Marksman tree. Mainly because you want to get up to call Greater Razor Beast. You want to make sure that you have that by the time you hit level 31. Because once you start hitting level 32 and above, then the regular Razor Beast that you get near the beginning isn't cutting it. I mean, he's going to be going down fast. So you want to make sure that you pick up Greater Razor Beast and get those 24 points as soon as you can. And once you do that, then you start just filling out the Marksman tree. Something I recommend starting out in the beginning, going on ahead and buffing your pet. I mean, you can buff your crit chance, but your crit chance is so low to begin with that you're not going to notice a huge difference. So go ahead and pick up enduring to 5 to open up the next one, get your predatory instincts for your self buff, and then going ahead and start putting in the wilderness training. And after that point, the next tier opens up. Put 2 into fill out thrill to kill, so that your quick shot and splinter shot get boosted, pick up piercing shot, and at that point I would start putting more points in the eagle eye. To going ahead and open up trick shot, and then going ahead and pick up bestial fury, and finish filling out eagle eye, putting some points in the killing focus, and then the next one you get improved trick shot, and that pretty much gives you your 24 points right there, which not only does that give you greater rays of east, it gives you shadowfire, which is an awesome freaking shot. I mean, it's got a 2-minute cast time, but I mean later on you get a buff for it. Where is it? Where is that? Right here. Fast and Furious. 2 points into that makes your cast time on Shadowfire 0. That's a ways away though, later on. But Shadowfire is awesome. I mean, it does great damage for being a cast time, and it also increases your ranged attack damage by 5% for 30 seconds, giving you a range buff. Now, once you have your 24 points, that's when you want to start concentrating on your marksman tree. To begin with, you got a choice of either one of these. I'd say go for single-minded focus. If you find that you're having problems with your pet holding aggro and you just end up pulling aggro quite often, you can put points in the Keeman Eye to give you some more range. But I prefer single-minded focus. Fill that out. Going ahead and pick up repelling shot next. Dump the rest of the points into either one of these to open up the third tier here that you haven't finished filling out. Then you want to make sure you get penetrating shots, which is basically ignores armor of your enemy. And then finish filling out these down here. Now you could do increased firepower. Your crits and your weapon damage and attack power by 2% for 10 seconds when you end up critting. And that's something I'm actually going to be dropping back down to and getting in my upper 30s and 40s. Finish filling that one out. So you put points into sniper training next, which is increases your cast time and channeled attacks. Make sure you get close quarters combat so that if a mob gets right up on you, you can take them out. And then you, of course, want to pick up Bullseye. It's basically an automatic crit on 2-minute cooldown, which is awesome for your finishers. And you want to start putting some points in the Master Archer, which is a straight up damage buff. Now, as far as rotation goes, I'm going to show you my macros. I basically use 2. I use 2 macros. Once you get high enough, you got what I call my builder for your building shots: Shadowfire, then piercing shot, empowered shot, and then quick shot. And basically the way this is going to work is you're going to go through these first 3, and then you're going to do your finisher, and then quick shot will happen 3-4 times, maybe 5 if you're really fast with it, and then your empowered shot will come off cooldown. You'll kick that in, go back to quick shot, then piercing shot and Shadowfire, and you know, it kind of rotates through. It's a good rotation though. It makes sure that you hit everything off cooldown. Now for your finishers, I've got rapid fire shot, bullseye, and deadeye shot. Rapid fire shot, we do not have access to, or do we? Yes, we do. Rapid fire. Okay, we do. I wasn't quite sure. I've been playing my main, so I wasn't sure when exactly I got it. But this basically makes it that rapid fire shot is a hard-hitting burst damage that's instant, unlike deadeye shot, which is cast time. Now, deadeye shot is our hardest hitting shot, period, out of anything out there. But it does have a cast time, and I prefer putting rapid fire shot up there first because you're looking to burn the mob down fast, and eliminating any cast times that you can within there is optimal. And that's basically it. I mean, that's all you need for leveling, are those 2 macros. And you just go on ahead, and as the shots become available to you, you work those macros, you work those shots into the macro, setting it up like I have it. And so it's a basic 2-button push. I mean, that's it. Now I do have headshot here on the side for me, easy to get to. Reason being is that sometimes your rapid fire shot or your deadeye shot will miss, and so your combo points won't be used. To go on ahead and hurry up and get off that other shot instead of maybe using a cast time. Maybe he's only got a little bit of health left and you don't want to go through that 1.5 second cast time or whatever. You can just go on ahead, bam, hit headshot, over, done with. Good deal. I always like to keep repelling shot as kind of a oh crap button, you know, just to push them away from you, give you a little bit range. On the double is great to have for any type of kiting situation with elites, to where maybe your pet goes down quick and you end up having to kite the elite. It works outstanding for that. Now, something not to forget is divert rage. When you're doing your AoE attacks, divert rage works out outstanding, and you open with it. You have your pet, put the heal on the pet, send the pet in, divert rage, and then AoE. And that's pretty much going to stick all the threat that you will need throughout the whole fight on your pet. You just got to make sure that you keep that heal, that rejuvenation up on your pet on cooldown. So when it's got 1 second left, cast it. Even if it's in the middle of your rotation, cast it. That's key when doing any type of AoE situation solo, where you have 2, 3, 4 mobs, 5 mobs. If you let that rejuvenation drop off, your pet is going to go down fast with multiple mobs on top of it. So you got to keep that up. Now you have Concussive Blast, which is a AoE finisher. It does mediocre damage, so use it as you want. It's also an interrupt, which is outstanding for going against casters. You can use it for that. Something I prefer to do though in an AoE situation: target one mob, do my AoE, and use my regular finishers as they come up, as I get 5 points on that AoE situation. But questing, you don't run into that too much. Now, next I'm going to show you the melee build that I like to level with. It is a Nightblade Riftstalker Assassin build. And I like using this build because I like the classic thief rogue model. Being sneaky, hiding in the shadows, coming out of nowhere, ripping someone apart, and then slipping away again. Excuse me. You take Riftstalker for the self-heal, boosted recovery. If you have access to Tactician, you can take that as well. I prefer Riftstalker though, because you get Planebound Resilience, which is a slight endurance increase, and you also get Shadow Shift, which is kind of another old crap button to build you some distance. Now I start out, when I'm building my assassin, I like to go on ahead and do my first 4 points in the Murderous Intent, and alternating between Assassintry and Riftstalker. Assassintry, Riftstalker. To go on ahead and get that boosted recovery as fast as I can. Some people might start out Riftstalker and get that first, but I like to concentrate on my Assassintry first. So you put your 4 points in here while you're doing the Riftstalker, put 1 point here to increase your critical hit chance by 1%. It's not huge, but it's going to add up really fast on the melee tree, a lot quicker than it will on the range tree. Be sure to get Puncture. It's damage and adds a bleed effect. I mean, it's just great to have. And Cloak and Dagger boosts your from stealth attack damage, and basically gives you a 15% less damage taken for 10 seconds. I mean, what's not to love about that? Now, after you get your Riftstalker filled out, of course, you're going to be alternating with Nightblade and Assassin. And after I got my Cloak and Dagger and my Puncture, I'll actually switch over to Nightblade and go ahead and start filling out Blazing Fury and Coup de Grace. Those are two major damage boosts for you at lower levels. You get those two, switch over to Burning Rage, which will then open up the next tier for you to pick up Dark Malady. And Dark Malady is going to be key. That's going to be your opener from stealth. Reason being is it has no positional requirements, unlike most of the ones for the assassin tree. Predominantly you end up having to be behind your opponent for backstab and assassinate, and that can be problematic when stealthing around. It's just easier to get Dark Malady and not have to worry about being in front or the back. Plus it gives you a buff that increases your damage for 20 seconds. I mean by 20% for 8 seconds, which is phenomenal. I mean, what we're working up to here is so that you attack with this, you get a damage bonus from that, 20%. You already have Cloak and Dagger, that's another 15%, so that's 35 increased damage for the first 8 seconds, and then 15 for the next 2. Plus you're taking less damage, 15% less damage for the first 10 seconds of the attack. And once you have Dark Malady, you can go on ahead and finish filling out your assassin tree. Go ahead and pick up Improved Savage Strike. Pick up Blinding Power. That's another oh crap button if you get in trouble. Improve Final Blow, which will be your finisher. That increases its damage. Silent Footsteps makes it harder to see when you're out of stealth. Drop back down here. Finish filling out Ruthlessness and Murderous Intent. I don't really like any of the ones on this next level. I mean, Backstab does outstanding damage, but by this point we're already using Dark Malady, and in my opinion it's superior to Backstab in every way. Going ahead and pick up Serrated Blades. You're pretty much going to be keeping a bleed on your target at all times with that. It's not going to drop off. And then Subterfuge increases the damage of your from stealth attacks. That's another 10% bonus onto your Dark Malady. Plus, or 20% at max, plus it'll give you 100% of additional combo points. So now you're opening with Dark Malady. Now that's going to be getting a 20% damage bonus to start out, and 3 combo points coming out of stealth before you did anything else. I mean, you're just hurting them hard. And the way I work this, and you just keep filling them out. I prefer to concentrate on the assassin tree. The Nightblade tree has some good stuff later on that you can look into them. I'll get into that into another video. But I mean, that's your basic setup. And of course you can alternate some things on where you prefer to put points first and such like that. Everything's kind of fit to your taste, but this is what I like to use, and it's fairly standard. A lot of people like to concentrate on Nightblade because they like the fire and doing the elemental damage. I prefer to concentrate more on the physical, in case some mobs do have fire resist, and stuff like that. Of course everything has armor, but it's just personal preference. So now that I've done that, let me go on ahead and show you what the macros look like for it. My opener here, I've got Puncture and Savage Strike. Now that's an opener from not stealth. That's just running up to a mob. Boom. You want him with the Puncture and then go for the Savage Strike. Opener from stealth. For some reason I got Assassinate and Jagged Strike in there. I don't know why. That should not be like that. That should be Dark Malady. Alright. Anyway, the opener, you should be opening up with your Dark Malady first, and then hitting them with your Puncture, and then go along with your Savage Strike, and then you'll be doing your Final Blow as a finisher, and then it's Savage Strike, Puncture, go ahead and hit that, and Savage Blow as a finisher. That's just what I like to personally do. Now, something you gotta watch out for though, this is not an AoE build. You will be able to burn down single targets and 2 targets at a time fast. 3 targets, it's a little bit of a challenge because you're having to bob and weave a little bit, give yourself some breathing room. 4 or more, unless you're, how should I put this? I wouldn't do it. You're going to be taking a lot of damage in that case. Even opening up from stealth and having the first 10 seconds of a buff to where you're not taking as much damage, you're still going to have a lot coming in. Now you can engage that many and try and burn down as many as you want, and then hit your blinding power, bam, and use an escape to get out of there, and then come back to them in stealth and reopen. You can do that as well. That's something that's definitely worth it. Guarded steel is something you might want to work in as well. That's an armor increase of 10% for 30 seconds. It generates additional threat, and it also gives you damage, but it's a finisher. So you gotta weigh your options. You know, if you're going against an elite, you might want to build up those first 5 combo points, hit them with guarded steel, and then go into your regular rotation for damage. That way you do have that extra damage buff in there. But that's the basics of it, man. I mean, it's not too difficult. As far as leveling strategies, people choose different things. I'm a quester. I like the quest. I like the storyline. I like the lore that's involved. I like knowing what's going on with the game. If it's your first time playing Rift, I definitely recommend doing the quest options. You'll find out what's going on. It'll give you a real good feel for the personality, for what the game's about. And it explains a lot of stuff to you that once you get into your 50s and everything, you'll kind of be, you know, you might be doing the quest or in some dungeons going, well, what's the relevancy of this? You know, why is this happening? Who the hell is Regulos? You know, and why is he up against Crucia? You know, and all these different things, and you won't have a clue what's going on. If you would have done the quest leveling up, guess what? You know. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. And read some of the quest text every now and then. I know you got some of you guys who run quests, and y'all don't run any quest text. Y'all don't read the quest text, man. Read the quest text. It tells you what's going on. I mean, you're playing an MMORPG and you're skipping all the text. I don't understand it. Read it at least once. At least once. You know, on your alts coming through. Yeah, skip it, but read it at least once, man. Please, for me. You make me, as an old school RPG player, you make me cry when you don't read the text, man. And I want to kill kittens. So you gotta make sure you read the text. Other leveling strategies, you got instant adventures, which is basically you sign up and you join a group of guys and you go around zones on quest after quest after quest that is not involved with the storyline type deal. It's kind of deal where, okay, we need you to go over here and kill a bunch of these guys, and then there'll be an end boss, mini boss kind of deal that pops up, and you take him out, you know. And then after you do everything that's involved with the quest, it'll say, do you want to accept the next quest? You know, and you just keep doing that throughout. And people can come and go in the group as they please. You're not required to stay there. It's not like a dungeon to where you have to stay to the end. You can pop in and pop out however you want. They're pretty cool. Another way to level is you can strictly do PvP. That's definitely a valid option, you know. Ooh, a buggy. Cool. Been seeing quite a few people with them. But PvP is an option if you like PvPing. These builds aren't going to be optimal for PvP though, that I'm showing you. But that is an option for you to do. A lot of people are leveling through PvP as well, especially on alts, or those people who just love PvP. You'll want to change it up, obviously, for a little bit more survival, a little bit more options with your builds. You know, you'll want some roots, some snares, some stuns, that type deal. You know, you PvPers know what I'm talking about. You can do strictly dungeons. Now, you can't do your first dungeon until you hit level 10 or 15. But you can strictly level through dungeons. I find that boring doing that all the time because that's worse than quest. I mean, it's the same thing, literally grinding dungeons all day long. I don't know how people can do it. Some of you guys love it, man. Hey, more power to you. Definitely through dungeons you get better gear than you do questing. Through IAs you get better gear than you do questing. But the gear you get questing is perfectly fine. It is perfectly viable. You do not have to spend money on planar gear at all. At all. before you get to end game. You really don't need to. It's a waste of Planerite. The only thing I would advise picking up with Planerite is source engines. Get your source engines. As soon as you can get the maxed out source engine that I think costs 7.5k Planerite, that has 2 greaters and 4 lessers, do it. Get it. That will be your single biggest stat boost that you will receive in game. And it constantly gets upgraded. The essences that you put in are constantly able to be upgraded. But once you buy that source engine, that's the only one you're going to need for that character ever again. That's it. So definitely get that. If you feel like you're one of those people who always have to have the best gear, there are 2 ways to go about it. You can buy it with Planerite, do dungeons, or buy it from the Rift Store. The gear that you buy in the Rift Store while leveling is great gear for leveling, but just realize that you are going to out level that gear pretty quick. You know, it'll last you 6 levels or so, 7 levels, but you're going to be having to upgrade that gear quite often, so just be aware of that. And those are the major ways for leveling and for the builds. Show them one more time to you. This is a melee build that I like to go with from 1 up to my mid 30s, and then show you my preferred range build that I like to use for 1 through my mid 30s. It is pet-centric, but it does outstanding, man. I mean, I haven't had anything with it. If I take out elites with it, I take out minor invasion forces. You know, you got the groups of guys that it's like one big mob and like 5 or 6 small ones. I take them out pretty easy with it too. Rifts, solo rifts, pretty good up to stage 4 and 5. Stage 6 can be a problem sometimes if it's an elite. If they're not elites though, stage 5, stage 6, no problem. That's about it. I hope y'all enjoyed this guide. I hope it was helpful to you, and I will check y'all later.